All right, everybody. Thanks for joining for another episode of the Your Normal podcast. I'm your host, Blake Russell. And for today's guest, I'm super freaking excited. It is a longtime friend of mine, one of the best dudes I know, Garet McCann. Garet, welcome to the podcast.
What's going on, man?
Not much, dude. You're here. We're here. We're going to do this thing, right?
I'm fucking nervous, dude.
You don't got to be nervous. It's going to be a glorified conversation, I assure you. So Garet, before we start this whole conversation, we got a lot of good stuff to talk about. And you know, I hope that what I hope out of this podcast is I hope that somebody that has been in a similar position as you in some regard can connect with what you have to say. But before we dive into all that, I gave you a homework assignment. I told you to give me 5 words to describe yourself. Can you share with our viewers and our listeners what the 5 words were?
So, I chose veteran because that was a big part of my life. 6 years. We've talked about it. Chose jovial, which is just, I like keeping things light until you don't have to, that. So I just like keeping it light if unless it has to be serious. I chose golfer because I really enjoy golfing. It's like one of my favorite hobbies. Adventurous because, on a whim, I've driven cross country to go like on spring break. So like, or just go out and go hiking. I mean, I don't know. I'm always up for a good time, man.
You're an active guy. Yeah, you're super active.
Dude, that's 4.
The 5th one was thinker.
Yeah, real big thinker, obviously.
Every day I think about all the things I got to do.
But once upon a time, like, I guess I would say I didn't really, care about finding the facts and understanding how things work and everything like that. So now I'm a little bit more that way. So I guess through thinker on there.
You said like finding the facts about like, what do you mean finding the facts?
I mean, I would just throw anything at a wall and see if it stuck. And it wouldn't have like any backing or any scientific backing or any factual. Like, it's just, I don't know. I guess specifically, I guess we've talked about this, and then now we're gonna go down this rabbit hole. I used to be that guy like, oh, look at all this snow, climate change. I was like, or it'd get really cold, and I was like, I used to delete. I had to delete Facebook posts. I was like, oh, what an idiot.
Because you were saying like things that you feel like are absurd now. Yeah.
Just denying it. And then obviously having coursework in environmental science and things like that. You just learn.
Are you still taking classes?
Yeah, so it's a little bit on hold at the moment. COVID slowed some things down for us as far as some of the certs I got to get for work. So it's on hold at the moment, but
yeah.
I'm a junior, so getting there.
Yeah, man.
Taking the long road, but yeah, we're getting there, and hopefully graduate with my bachelor's in environmental science. So
that'll be good. Yeah, I remember. So Garet lives in Aurora, Colorado, and he lived in. I visited him this year or in 2020, and I had visited him the year prior. And you were living in like a suburb of Denver, right? It was like it started with the C. What was it called?
It was Commerce City.
Commerce City. Yeah.
So just 15, 20 minutes northeast of Denver. Had a house out there, which we have since sold. But yeah, down in South Aurora now, much better area as far as, there's just a lot more to do. But
there was a lot more shit in Aurora than
there was. It was like near an industrial area up there.
But that's like what I mean. Colorado and the area in general that you're in is like it's just like my favorite. I could go there and be there all the time. I love it, man.
It's a good time. I mean, you can't beat some of the views and hiking. hiking 14ers out here is just, it's a good time. Need to do some.
You and your wife, you've done 14ers?
Yeah, so we should have done more. So we did Mount Bierstadt, and now I'm calling her out. She's gonna hate me. But so my wife has a little bit of asthma going on. So she got to about 150 to 200 feet from the peak, and just kind of waited there because she was starting to feel sick and stuff. So I was like, I couldn't imagine like walking up a mountain with asthma. So I props to her for sure. But yeah, so we've done that one and plans to do some more. Just sometimes life gets in the way, as they say.
That they do say that. They do. But yeah, man, it's as long as you all are out there, it's going to be something that I'm going to be intentional about making out there at least every so often. And, it's a wonderful area. But Garrett, before we kind of launch into some topics that I think are going to be super useful for people to hear about, I want to give you the opportunity. I'm going to have you do an exercise because we've kind of talked about who you are in 5 words, but that obviously doesn't encapsulate who you are. So I just want you to do like a stream of consciousness, a free association. I just want you to talk about who you are, where you're at in life, how you got there. And that's all I'm going to kind of give you. I just want you to tell the viewers and the listeners who Garet McCann is.
All right. I'm going to fucking suck at this, dude.
Let it ride, dude. Let it ride.
Yeah. And by giving me a homework, by the way, guys, yeah, he told me this 10 minutes ago. Okay. No, so, dude, I hope Garet is like, I think I'm a pretty decent guy. I think I'm a good friend. I like to keep good people around me. I like to think I try to be honest, and have integrity and work hard every day for, and just try and make a living in this crazy world.
What do you do for a living?
Yeah, I work in the water department out here in Aurora now, which is going pretty well.
It's good, man.
Yeah. This is, dude, that's
where are you from, Garret?
I'm originally, I guess that's where we're gonna go here. Okay. Yeah, so born in Columbia, Missouri. And during a snowstorm, my pops likes to say.
Why does he say that? Just because it just was?
Been a blizzard. I was like, okay, sorry, dude.
Sorry about that, Dad.
Sorry you had to drive through the snow. So it's like, all right. But yeah, grew up for the first few years there in St. Louis and then moved down to Jeff City and met some crazy dudes like you.
Yeah.
Made some good friends, but yeah. And then I've since then joined the military, got out of JC, started traveling, obviously quite a bit. Anytime you join the military, it's going to happen. So ended up being stationed in South Georgia.
How long were you down? How long were you living there?
I was down there for like 5 years and some change because.
Oh shit! I didn't realize that was that long.
I was at basic in 2012, and then after that you go to tech school, and then you get your base. So yeah, I was down there for 5 years and some change, man. It's another world down there.
It's another world.
It's another world, man. Football, like.
Oh yeah.
Football. Yeah.
It's just football. That's it, man.
And gnats and humidity. That's it, dude.
Oh, it's similar to Missouri in that way, that it's just humid.
Oh man, it's worse.
Really?
It's definitely worse. It's just, I mean, unless you're in a body of water, you don't want to be outside in the summer there, unless you have to be. Like it's miserable. And now picture training with like gear on down there, like walking through swamps and stuff, dude.
Is that where you did you did basic training there, or like maybe not? I'm probably saying that wrong.
Yeah, so basic for the Air Force is in San Antonio, and then our tech school was there as well. But yeah, just training. We call them like spinning up for a deployment. Would be there in South Georgia or or in Florida sometimes. We travel down there too. But yeah, man, just cool, fun weather. Good.
Were you in like ridiculous shape when you were in the military?
At one point in time, and then during deployments, I would just come back just like.
Is that because you were? Is it because you were just working out all the time when you were over there?
So that's all you do. I mean, you do your job, and then like you have to release like stress some way, and you're just working out. And yeah, I mean, I've come back like just stupid big from some of them deployments, but yeah, I was probably in my best shape for sure while I was in the military.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, so Garrett is born in Columbia, spent a little bit of time in St. Louis. You still got family up here, right? In St. Louis?
I do. So Karen's, my stepmother's family, still lives up there. Got grandparents up there, aunts, uncles. Yeah, man. My grandma on my pop side, she's moved a little closer to Fulton to be closer to my pops because he takes care of her essentially.
Yeah,
just makes it easier.
That makes sense. And then you moved to Jefferson City and you lived there. I'll call it like the majority of your life so far, like sure. 15, 20 years or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And then you get into the military, you go to Georgia. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, and I don't want to sound disrespectful, but where did you meet your wife, Ashley? You met her in Georgia, right?
For sure. So she was down there at VSU. She played softball, and she's gonna make fun of me for this, but D2 national champion.
What? D2 national champion.
So no,
that's cool. No, that's cool. Why would she get mad at you?
She hates when I bring it up, and it's hilarious to me. So
she's like super humble or something.
She's gonna listen to this. She's like, fucking.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just funny to me, but yep, met her down there. She was going to VSU. Dude, it's so cheesy. Met her at an air show that I was working security for.
Mm-hmm.
Like just as cheesy as it gets. Like
you were working security and what?
For this air show on the base.
Well, how did you talk to her? Did she talk to you? What happened?
So she came through our like checkpoint, and her like they went through, and I was like, okay, whatever. And then her friend comes back. She's like, do you want her number? And I was like, oh, this is some high school fucking
mid-20s.
I was like, yeah. Which one? No. So, anyways, yep. Ended up getting her number and ended up texting her, and downhill from there.
Yeah. Now you're married.
Now we're married for 3+ years, and yeah, going strong.
Well, congrats to that. I mean, I know you personally, but Ashley's a wonderful person. Everybody should meet her. She's great.
She's wonderful.
All right, man. So within all of that, I think I want to, before I get into the military stuff, because I think that that's going to be super interesting. And I think it's going to be really important for a lot of people to hear. But can you speak a little bit? You mentioned your dad and talking about the snowstorm, and then like your stepmom Karen. You didn't mention your mom, and I know you personally, but can you speak to anybody that's listening a little bit about your mom and her like involvement in your life?
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I guess early on, I mean, I'll just start there. Early on, I mean, there's fantastic memories there. Her favorite holiday was Christmas, and she always made the holidays just amazing. That's my favorite holiday now because of some of those memories.
That's really nice. Yeah.
She just go all out. Like, and looking back, like bent over backwards, she probably bent over backwards just to get some like gifts under the tree and everything, man. So you just look back on stuff on that like that, and you're just like, man, that's just, I mean, she's just going the extra mile. But yeah, I mean, at some point, and I think it started while she was living in St. Louis. I mean, this is years later, obviously, my parents divorced and everything. I think, yeah, she just ended up getting, hooked on, getting addicted to like pills, I believe. That's how it started. And man, it ended up turning into about a 10 plus year battle with addiction for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, ultimately, ultimately taking her life because of those decisions and some of those, some of those things she did.
Yeah, man. And I appreciate you sharing that. I know that it's a shitty memory, and it's like a difficult thing to talk about. But I think knowing that people are going to hear this, I think one, that's super courageous, and it's awesome that you shared it. And I know for a fact you're not the only person to ever like go through that with a parent that struggles with that. Not to minimize your situation, but I do appreciate you sharing it. And like we grew up together. I guess you could say that. Like I met you in probably 8th or 9th grade or something. But yeah, like I didn't really know until we got older and we kind of like talked about shit, like anything about your mom. And it makes sense to me now, looking back. But I do appreciate you sharing that. And I know about that time. How old were you when your mom passed away? We were like in our 20s, right?
Yeah, it would have been 2009. August 2009. It was like, I mean, I know it down to the minute, dude. It's like 11:01. So I mean, it's just things. Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty. I mean, it's not a pretty story seeing some of these things, and just like we were talking about. I mean, I'm hopefully sharing, to help with. I don't know if anybody could take anything away from it. I'm not some all-knowing guy, but hopefully somebody can take some things away, but from it that are positive. But it's just seeing, like I watched her on the day my grandpa died. She was like driving away in a van with some people at that time that I knew were just not the right people.
Right.
And like she's pulling out into traffic and she's like, her eyes are like almost rolling in the back of her head. I was just like, tried stopping her. I mean, and then of course the people that she left behind are left just thinking like, I wonder if there was anything I could have did, and that's the battle. I mean,
I hearing you tell that, like, I don't know from personal experience what it's like to have a parent that's addicted to drugs or a drug or alcohol or, but I do know people that I love that have struggled with that, and it's been very difficult for me. But I also think like there's so much weight when it's a parent, like it's like yeah, that's really hard. I love them, but then it's like it's your fucking mom, and so. I really appreciate you sharing everything you have. And I do think that around you, probably 19, 20, 21, something like that.
Yeah, like 20, 21, 22.
And that's when you and I, like, prior to going in the military, and we were both still kind of hanging around Jeff City. And I was living with my parents at the time. Were you living with your dad?
Yeah, I was still back. Yep, still back home.
Yeah.
Like I remember I was at the fair, like the night she ended up getting admitted to the hospital. And I mean, like I said, it wasn't a pretty thing. They essentially found her behind a department store, somewhat unconscious, and they ended up taking her, into the hospital there at JC, and did what they could. She was somewhat coherent for a little while. So I got to like talk to her a little bit, but at that time, I was just so mad. I was so pissed off.
You were like mad that she would be in that position at all.
And I didn't say, and that's what it is. It comes down to like, you wish you would have used those moments to say some of the things you wish, you wanted to say. So, and I, being young and just, just didn't take that opportunity to tell her some of the things that I wish I would have, because she ended up going into a coma, and just never came back from that. So
yeah, and those moments, they're so fleeting. Like they're happening, and like it takes such wisdom, which some people never obtain the ability to have that much wisdom, and especially when you're fucking 20 or whatever it was, man. Like
yeah, that's 21. Like
yeah, and then,
it's yeah, man. I mean, at one point, like for a while there, I was pretty mad at myself. I mean, at this point, it's you can't be too mad, you can't beat yourself up too much.
mm-hmm.
There's no way I could have known that was going to be the last moments.
For sure.
But yeah, man. I mean, yeah, that's something I know a lot of people probably struggle with. Like just maybe being in a similar situation where you didn't do or say what you wish you would have before someone ended up passing on. So
I definitely think it's more common than people might think, and it feels so personal because it is personal when it's happening to you or has happened to you. But I appreciate you sharing, Garrett, and I hope that somebody's hearing this and they're getting something positive, like you had said before, out of hearing you talk about this. I don't want. I do think that at that point in your life, then you're kind of left with like the pieces of like, what do I do with my life now? I'm an early 20-something-year-old guy, and I remember. I think you were you were trying to sell insurance for a little while, and you were kind of working a lot of jobs, and then you decided like, I'm going in the military, and then you did it. So
wasn't popular. Was not popular.
Yeah, it was not a popular decision. So I want you to speak a little bit about that, what you mean by that, and then also like about how old, what branch. Talk about your military experience. I want people to hear like what went on with that.
Okay. Yeah, man. So after that, that stuff with my mom, I worked some jobs. I was just like, what am I trying to do here? Like I tried going to college, ran out of money, couldn't get a loan. And I was just like, I got to get out of here. So I was like, I got to do something. So ended up joining in, go and talk to this recruiter, and we ended up deciding I was going to go Air Force for a couple of reasons. They don't deploy. Like I was talking to some of these guys in the Army, they deploy for 12, 14, 16 months. So I'm like, dude, that sounds terrible. And I heard the Air Force does like 6 months, and trust me, 6 months is shit's getting old. Like, dude. So like Air Force is like typically right around 6 months, and I was like, all right, let's do that. I ended up joining up in the Air Force, and I left for basic in, I believe it was March of 2012. And I mean, it's interesting stuff, man. Like we had, there's just like me being a little bit older and seeing some of these kids right out of high school, just like bawling their eyes out and stuff. I was just like, oh man. Like,
bawling their eyes out because it was so hard, or because they missed their parents, or what?
I think some of them are, a combination of both, or just, I mean, how could you? I mean, I don't know. Some kids, I could easily see it because they've never experienced anything other than high school. So I'm not hating on the kids, but I'm just like, man, dude's having a bad day. But anyways, went through basic, and basic wasn't too hard for me. I was ready to start my career in the Air Force. So I was like ready to get out, and I ended up getting out of JC and going through basic, which was like 8 weeks, and then going through tech school. And then
did you come back to your hometown, to Jefferson City, after basic, or did you go straight to wherever you went after that?
So I did get to come home, and I was wondering if you remembered that, because we had like a little homecoming thing, which is so funny to me now. It's like, oh, he's been gone 2 months, and it's coming up like
we played wiffle ball, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we did some of that, but we also, I think, went down to the lake. And I had family that had rented out a lake house, dude. I'm pretty sure, like, I'm almost positive I was driving down there and I was driving, and you and some of the other guys were in the back, like.
Dude, apologies. I don't recall that, man. I don't. Yeah.
Been a long
time. Yeah.
Yeah, so like we literally had like a lake house weekend, like, or maybe it was a night or two or something. But
Mm-hmm.
we had a good time playing all those fun games you play while you're
Beer pong and all
yeah,
that. Made a lot
yeah,
of good decisions and everything. Yeah.
yeah. Good stuff. So anyways, yeah, I did come home, and then I went back, and then tech school, and then tech school was, I think, maybe like 3 months or something. And for me, that was just like criminal. It was essentially geared towards like criminal justice, understanding laws, weapons training, hand-to-hand stuff, just for the job that I had. And then I get to go. Then I went down to South Georgia for it's the 820th essentially, and it's nothing special if there's any vets that end up listening to this, because they're going to be like, oh, he thinks he's fucking cool. But
yeah.
so I'm just saying, like,
Protect yourself. Yeah.
To the 820th, and I mean it's a high ops tempo, so you're deploying like every other year, but you also get to do some pretty cool stuff down there. So like I was able to go to some Army schools, like airborne.
Like jump out of planes and stuff.
Yeah, that's a stupid idea. I wouldn't fucking do it if I were you.
Why? I want to do it. Why would I not want to do it?
No, so the way that you have to do it, you know, in the military, at least the way I had to. I mean, those chutes are made to get you to the ground like quickly. So I mean, a bigger guy like me, I mean, it's just a fucking car wreck. And whenever I hit the ground, it's like,
just a bag of bones.
I was like laying there, and I was like wiggling my toes, like moving my hands. I was like, I think everything's fucking good. But yeah, man. So it's just not a soft or pleasant.
Yeah.
And they're like, here's your $175 a month for jumping out of planes. Then it's something we would never use. But anyways, like it was just cool. It was a great experience. I mean, but it's just sketchy as hell jumping out of a fucking plane.
Yeah.
When you got people in front and behind you, just like nut to butt, and they're like bumping you, and you're like getting turbulence, and you're just trying to get out the door. So it's just a sketchy.
How many people are in there? Like,
so it just depends on the size of the stick, but we had typically smaller ones. I'm sure Army, you know, they do quite a bit bigger sticks, is what we call them. Mm-hmm. But anywhere from like, it could be like 10 to 20,
yeah.
And you're just in a line, shuffling your way to the fucking door, and you have like, you got to get a good exit out of the door, or else your chute's going to get tangled, and it's just going to cause issues. So anyways, don't recommend it, but it was cool though. I mean, it's interesting, you know, just going through that. But
it just seems like a thing that like it's cool. It's like looking back, it's like, oh, I did that. That's cool. I did that. But in the moment, it was painful, and then also I was like, why did I have to do that? Like,
and it's something we're never going to use as far as
right,
you know, on deployed or whatever. But it was neat, and decided to do it. But it other than that, I didn't go to any other Army schools, but I had buddies go through Army Ranger School, which is pretty neat. Just a good leadership school that fucking drags your dick through the dirt, dude.
yeah.
Like it's and typically it takes Air Force guys a lot longer to get through it too, because they get like recycled. But anyways, so it's down there. And like I said, it was a higher ops tempo. And I don't know if you want me to just go ahead and get into the deployments now, or.
Yeah, I was gonna say like, so you go to basic, and then you go to tech school, and then you're down there. Like, about how long from when you go to tech school is it that you get your first deployment? And then also, how many deployments? Where were you deployed?
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about your deployments.
So after tech school, I think I probably graduated towards the end of the year, toward like December 2012 or November maybe.
So it took less than a year for the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
For all the training and everything. It was probably earlier than that. But anyways, we deployed like it was either June or July of 2013 to Afghanistan.
Mhm.
So pretty quick turnaround. We got to that base in Moody and like we started training for a deployment. And I was like, okay, this is happening. Because like one of the big reasons I wanted to, I was like, man, obviously getting out of JC was kind of crucial for me, but I wanted to deploy and I wanted to just see how I would do and just some of these situations some guys run into. And I mean it's that first deployment to Afghanistan was my only one where we were really actually getting out there off base and doing patrols, and stuff like that, route clearance, just
What's
clearing.
route clearance? Is that just like
So essentially, yeah, just clearing routes for everyone else to use the roads safely. Essentially, like we're essentially looking for IEDs.
Mhm.
But
And IEDs are improvised explosive devices for anybody that doesn't
yeah,
know. Is that correct?
yeah, and they're
Okay.
typically at that point they're typically made with like homemade explosives. So HME is what we call them. But
Mhm.
and they weren't too advanced in the area we were at, which was nice because some of the other areas had some pretty gnarly uh, IDs that could cut through armor, So, but anyways, so yeah, my first deployment. Like I used to say this, I used to say I was spoiled rotten after my first deployment because that I got to do exactly what I wanted to do, which was deploy, get off base, and like got to walking through villages in Afghanistan, and it's just a whole nother like one of my first patrols at night. And you just like we just didn't completely understand it at the time, but it was just prayer music. But it's like 10 or whatever at night, and prayer music comes over the loudspeaker, and I'm just like, I was like, holy shit, dude.
The loudspeaker, like the equivalent of like a tornado siren speaker
Yes,
now, like something like that.
they just play. It's like a call to prayer, and it's just like it shouldn't have, because I didn't completely understand what it was at the time. That's why it did, but it just made the hair stand up on the back of my neck. And we're just walking through a village at night, and I was just, I don't know. It was just like
It's unsettling. It's unsettling. Yeah, for sure. So with your first deployment in Afghanistan, and forgive me if this, I mean, we've talked about this a lot leading up to this interview. Did you get into any
troops in contact, firefights?
Yeah, like did you get in any firefights? Did anything come up where you thought your life might be in jeopardy, or anybody's life? Like, did anything like that happen in your first deployment?
So situations where shit was getting a little sketchy, that's probably getting closer to like a handful of times. But actual ticks or firefights, like I've seen, I would guess I've seen a lot less than a lot of guys. I've only been in a couple. So and one of them was like we've talked about that ambush. And yeah, I mean, watching tracer fire like flying like over your head.
What is tracer fire?
So a tracer round essentially is a round that's acts as a tracer, so where your rounds are hitting, and it's like typically like in a ratio of like 1-4. So like every fourth or fifth round is just going to be a tracer, so you can see where you're hitting. And yeah, I mean, just watching those fly over my head was a surreal experience.
What? No, I'm sure, man. Is this the experience? Is this the experience with the dog? Like it all started with the dog. Can you tell everybody like a little bit about like what happened and how it started?
Okay, so essentially that night, we got called out. Somebody shot rockets at the base essentially, and what I mean by that is they're essentially they have a crude way of setting up rockets. They aim it at the base, and they fly up, and then they're just hoping to get lucky and hit somebody or something on the base. So we get that call, and essentially they want us to go to what we would call a POO site, a point of origin. So essentially they have technology on the base that is supposed to triangulate where this rocket came from. And they're like, hey guys, go there. Essentially, it's a pretty shitty situation because they know like that's our approach. Like they're like, okay, so when we do this, we know they come and they look for where these rockets were shot off. So that's something that's predictable and they can set something up. So that's essentially what happened to us. They're never going to know the exact route you take. But so we were looking for this and this site where they shot these rockets, and like after not finding anything because it's pitch black out, like
how many of you is it exactly, if you had to guess?
So in our squad there's probably 14 guys and gals on the ground. It's
sure.
a different thing about Air Force at that time. Like in the Air Force, women in combat roles wasn't like, you know, it was a different thing, but it was a cool thing. I mean, had some good people on the ground for sure. But anyways, so looking back, so like we're leaving, we're essentially heading back to our trucks because our trucks couldn't get to the area we were looking for, these rockets where they were shut off. And we're heading back and just essentially walking and patrolling down this dirt road near some houses and whatever else in this small village. And I'll never forget it. Like I'm in Alpha, so I'm towards the front, and there's this one of the guys in the front, our dog handler, which his name is Dan, and the dog's name was Dan, so it was just kind of funny thing there.
Yeah, Dan.
But they see somebody, and he's like, I got somebody up here. And then I was like, okay. And then he's like, he's got a gun. I was like, okay. And then he started running, like the guy just started running. And then I hear, and it's something I'll never forget, I hear the handler, and this is like his call to go, you know,
like attack.
Snatch that dude.
Yeah.
Like he's going for a bite. He was like, get him. And I'll never hear it, like pitch black. You just hear that. And then I was just like, oh, he just sent the dog. And then shortly after that is when just fire erupts. So essentially they had an L-shaped ambush set up on us, which is like an SOP. It's a operating procedure for that, you know, the US uses, that we use. Had people, you know, in a line shooting at us because we're like on this road, you know, patrolling down it. So they're all shooting at us
from your side.
From our side, and then they had another guy or two. I need to keep this on the camera. Sorry. So we're getting shot from here, and then the L is right here.
Sure.
And shot at from another couple guys over here, and those were the guys on the L that were shooting at me and, you know, some of the other guys near me. And like I said, I'll just never forget it. Like once fire just popped off, you can just see tracer rounds flying all over, and it's honestly, it's a pretty amazing sight just seeing it. Like, and they look like they're coming in slow-mo. Like you look like you could almost just like slip.
Yeah. I can tell you're seeing it, right? You're replaying it right
now. Yeah. And that's gonna happen because my anytime I talk about it, my adrenaline starts getting going again.
I know, man. And I appreciate you sharing your story. I do. I know it probably sucks to, yeah.
Oh, it's all good, man. We all got out of there that night. So
yeah.
So that happened. And the first thing that I did was I fell flat on my fucking ass. I was like, and I'm just like looking up. I was like, holy shit, this has actually happened. And I remember being so mad at myself because I got surprised. Like that's the point of an ambush. Like, but you know, I was really fucking pissed off. I got surprised by it.
Yeah.
But that's the point of it. But anyways, and after that, I fucking, after what feels like a fucking eternity, but it was probably only a couple seconds, I climbed to my stomach and crawled up, and I start returning fire at some of those guys I was just talking about in the the ambush. But and we can touch on that stuff later, as far as like my thought process on why that guy's shooting at me. And
no, we can talk about it. We can talk about it right now. Yeah, we're talking about it. Yeah. Okay. If you want to, Garrett, if you want to.
I'm just at this point, I'll probably just finish up with the ambush, because I'm already in that freaking zone or whatever.
Yeah, man, please. Yeah.
Okay. So anyways, after that, like, essentially we're just returning fire. Like, everyone's just shooting at each other. And it wouldn't have been too long, but while that dog was sprinting and chasing that guy that was running, he stopped, like, in his tracks, because he was trained to be more trying to think of that word more prone to, like, if he gets the smell of like HME, like, that's more important than a bite, or getting a suspect.
That's a bomb. That's a bomb?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had an IED set up for our dismount, and this dog just, like, stopped in his tracks. And at this point, like, I have to go off of other people's account because I was a little further back, but he stopped and just, like, sat, and that's the sign for, hey, there's essentially an ID here. So he did that, and all the while, like, fire, everyone's still shooting at each other, and he's, like, pulling his dog back, calling him back, and his dog's, like, crawling back, which is just crazy. Those dogs are just amazing.
Yeah, man, it's unbelievable.
Saved our ass. Like, if we walk into that, like, I was an alpha, so the first fire team in the squad, and if we kept going, like, I don't know when they decided to det that thing, but if we kept going, I mean, we're falling right into their trap. So the dog catching that possibly saves multiple people that night.
The dog probably saved your life.
The dog. Yeah.
Dan, Dirty Dan.
Man. And I got a picture of him still. I'd have to find that. But yeah, so anyway, that dog starts crawling back, and we realize, like, hey, like, that finally gets communicated, like, hey, there's some fucking shit down that way. We don't want to fucking run through there. And we eventually retrograde up a hill. Retrograde is a cool term for retreat. Okay.
Like probably tactfully retreat.
Yeah. Like, people just don't like using that word, but that's what we fucking did, because obviously you don't want to hang around in their fucking kill zone under ambush. So we go up this hill and we pull security up there, and by that I just mean we all kind of get set up because shit's kind of calming down, and we're just, like, still on 10, just looking for people just in case. And then we're like, let's improve our situation here. So we move into a compound. Like, we knock on their door, and we're like, hey guys, can we come in? And I'm sure obviously they just heard all these gunshots. Essentially and we're telling our interpreter to be like, ask them if we can come in. Just no. If they say no, I'm sorry, but we're coming in, because no one's dying here tonight. Like, we need a place to hide out until we can get picked up. So essentially that's what we did. And we pulled security in this compound. The guy was super nice, offered water,
that's nice.
Offered water and food. And we just, we pulled security on that compound, and until our trucks arrived. And that was my first TIC, troops in contact. And yeah, man, I mean, it was intense for sure.
It's interesting it's interesting to me that, and I know that this gets you really, like, it probably puts you into that that kind of adrenaline mindset.
I feel it right now. Like, I'm anxious.
I know. Yeah. And again, Garrett, I fucking love that you, like, told me that you were down to do this, and I really appreciate it. Shit, what was I gonna say? you mentioned surprised, like being surprised, because you went through all that training for like the year or whatever, less than a year, and then you go there and you're like doing all this shit, and then it's like that single moment, it's like life or death, like that's it, and like you can't make it up. It's the only life you get, and I don't think you kind of beat yourself up when you're talking about being surprised, but like I don't know if you can properly train somebody for bullets whizzing over their fucking head, man. Like I don't think you can I don't think it's teachable. I don't think it's a teachable thing.
I know it's a thing. Like apparently a lot of guys, it happens to a lot of them where if they get in a situation like that, they're going to second guess however they handled it. And I mean, so me falling on my ass, I was mad about that. And I was mad about getting surprised, like just completely and utterly surprised by it. Because I feel like I shouldn't have been. But anyways, like you said, it's hard to train somebody for
and it's your hyperarousal response. Like you fight, flight, or freeze, and you probably like initially your body was like, "Whoa!" Like I gotta get out, and then you're like, "Shit, I gotta fight now." Like I can't even imagine.
Like I just picture it like obviously they're flying over my head going this way. I figure I just was like, "Oh fuck!" It just it just fell back.
Don't want that to hit me. Yeah.
Those look like they'll hurt. But
man, go ahead, Garrett. I cut you off. Go ahead.
You're good. I'm just gonna kind of wrap it up. Like, it must have been like just a few seconds, and then crawled onto my stomach and started returning fire. But yeah, man. I mean, now I can look back on. I mean, we got out of there with everybody. So
that is the silver lining. Like nobody was harmed. Is it platoon? Did I say that right?
Yeah. It's just, that's fine, man.
Okay. Sorry to anybody that's a veteran listening to this. I'm an idiot. But there was one thing. We have about 15 to 20 minutes. I'm trying to keep these at about an hour.
You're getting into it, yeah.
No, and I'm not saying you're talking too much. I'm giving you a heads up. But there was one other thing. Like I remember you telling me that story for the first time. I don't remember what year it was. It was after you had gotten back, and we were headed to Columbia, Missouri to like fish at a pond with our buddy Lucas Porter. And you told me about it, and I was like, oh my God. Yeah, and it's cool if you don't remember that. I just remember it being like, oh my God. But then I know I came to visit you in 2019 when you were living in Commerce City. I said it right? Mm-hmm. And we went to, what was the brewery we went to? Do you remember the brewery? It was it doesn't matter. We went to a brewery and we drank beer and we were talking, and you told me, and if it's okay with you, I would like you to kind of talk about the other incident in your experience during deployment.
So are you talking about? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's the firefight you got in with the flash and the muzzle.
Okay. Sorry. So that was the same one I was just talking about, dude. So sorry about that.
It's the same one. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. That was the same one where so whenever I was returning fire, that's my bad. I don't know why I didn't get into that. But
my bad too. Yeah.
When I was returning fire, essentially it's night. So you can see tracers and you can see muzzle flash. Mm-hmm. And so like I'm shooting at it. I didn't shoot more than one magazine, but which is 30 rounds, just for the people who don't know that.
I play Call of Duty, Garrett. I get it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No clip, dude. No. So, anyways, I'm shooting at it, and then the muzzle flash stops, and I think just the thing that we've talked about that I wrestle with is that what happened to that guy? Like, did he just bounce? Or did I get close and he just was like, fuck this? Because that's what I would have did. Yeah. But or did I hit him? Like, so that's something that probably honestly still weighs on me today, that I think about. Like, is that guy? I honestly, he was shooting at me, and it's probably weird for me to say this, but I hope he's okay, because I don't know why that guy was shooting at me. Mm-hmm. Like, was he forced to? Did they threaten his family? Like, I just don't know why he was shooting at me. And if that's the case, like, obviously he had to make a decision. And if that was the case, and he decided to, you just got to ambush the Americans one night, and if your debt's repaid or whatever it was. Mm-hmm.
You have no way of ever knowing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. which
And
is
it's like a
trying to tell myself.
yeah. And the first time you told me about it, I remember like processing what you were telling me, and I was like, I don't remember how you didn't tell it the way you just told it, but you told the facts of it. And
Mhm.
I remember listening, and I was thinking like, I don't know if Garrett is so much worried about having potentially killed someone as he is like, if he did, what was that person's story and why was, like, who were they and shit? Like, isn't that more the stuff that kind of like creeps in
Yeah,
your mind and bugs you?
probably. And then honestly, going through that and then thinking about stuff like that, I mean, that's probably the worst you could do as far as being deployed still. When you start overthinking things like that, I mean, that's a recipe for bad stuff for sure. Because you might not do what you got to do,
Mm-hmm.
But so like, I didn't really start reflecting on that a whole lot until, I was back home. But it's, yeah, man, I think just not knowing what happened, and just honestly, it's weird. Like, I hope the guy's okay and still with his family. but
Yeah,
but
it's a super interesting thing that you're saying. Like,
yeah,
you deployed and you like served your country like very well, and you should be proud of it. And then at the same time, you're considering that person as a person and like hoping that they're okay.
and it's like, yeah, they chose to shoot at me, which, so I shot back that night. But it's still, I mean, I don't know. That's when I knew, like, doing stuff like that for a career just wasn't going to be it. I did my
Mhm.
job that night, but as a career, I knew, like, especially after I got home, doing that type of stuff just wasn't going to be it for me, because I sit there and think about stuff like that too much, or
You
not
mean
too.
like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You're good. I'm not saying like not too much, but just you can't think that way and be, deploying and getting into those types of situations. I think. I mean, that's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I would be interested to talk to somebody else that has deployed, and their mindset about it. But the way I hear it, who am I? Like, I've never deployed. I've never been even close to that job, that world, that whole frame of thinking, anything like that. But when I hear you say that, it's like, I don't know how the fuck you could turn that off. Like, I don't think it's you're a human being, and like
Yeah.
those are your thoughts. Like, some people might be better at compartmentalizing it like temporarily, but I just don't know. I don't know if it's sustainable. I don't know. But I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think eventually that stuff's going to come up, but
Mm-hmm.
so I mean, yeah. So like that, there's definitely guys out there who can go through something like that and not think twice about that individual, because like, fuck them, they shot at me, kind of thing, which I completely understand as well. So,
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, that's just speaking to different personalities,
yeah.
different makeups. We have a few minutes, Garrett, and I got a couple other things I want to touch on. And it's up to you how much you dive into either of them. But I know when we had talked about that, you also had told me about uh, you went to seek treatment for it at the VA to
Yeah.
talk about it.
Mhm.
And can you tell me your experience with the VA? And you can be careful with your words, or you can share as much or as little as you'd like.
Okay. I mean, that's fine. So essentially, they wanted to see, or if they were, if I had, these popular words, PTSD, whatever, PTS,
Mm-hmm.
from, or like anxiety, like just failure to adapt to civilian life, stuff like that. Anyway, they wanted to look into it, so I go and speak with this, and I don't know for sure. He may have been a psychologist, but I know that there's obviously other careers that could have been in that situation.
Sure.
Um, anyways, I mean, it couldn't have been, and I know we've talked about this, couldn't have been like a more terrible experience, just with the way this guy stared at his computer the whole time, asking questions. Like, and I had some instances like the story I just told, where I told that one, and I told him before that story, I had like 4 or 5 different instances that I wanted to talk about. I told him that one, and he was like, okay, are we done? I was like, yeah, man, we're done.
It's
like,
unbelievable to me.
dude, it was a bad look. And obviously I'm sure not everyone's that way. I'm sure there's great psychologists or whatever out there. But that one, he was an older gentleman, and I think he was ready to be done.
You've been doing it a long time. But like when I'm a mental health professional, for anybody listening that doesn't know that, I'm a therapist by trade. And when you tell me that, like I get filled with fucking rage, dude, because it's such a, frankly, you had a near-death experience, Garrett, and you had to like fight back to like preserve your own life and to protect other people around you. And it's a lot to carry. And for him to like not even make eye contact with you, like it's unbelievable. And then not only that, like I think that, and it's, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it maybe has turned, like that guy and that experience and you being vulnerable and talking about that, his reaction to it maybe has turned you off from the whole idea of talking to anybody about it. Is that fair to say?
I would say it definitely was fair to say for a while, for sure. Because I went a while after that, just like, okay, well, fuck that.
Yeah, makes sense, dude.
But, I've since, talked in some other ways. So definitely have got a better taste in my mouth as far as that goes now. But yeah, after that, I was pretty pissed off, to be honest.
That's fucking human nature. I can't imagine it. And I'm sorry that you got that guy that day.
Oh, good,
you know what I mean? Yeah. But listen, man, we got a few minutes, and how you feeling? You feeling all right?
I'm feeling good, man. This was fun. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah. I want to if you're good, I want to get out of the military headspace and just touch on a little bit of some lighter material here before we sign off. You mentioned your wife Ashley earlier. You got a little dog, not a little dog. You got a huge fucking dog named Red. He's full-blooded Doberman.
Full-blooded Red Doberman. Yeah, full shithead.
He's a Red Doberman, and his name is what?
Red.
How original. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just fucking. So what's next for Garrett? You deployed. You did that life. You moved to Colorado. You're married. You got married in Jefferson. I know you did a reception in Jefferson City.
Yeah, we did a little different. Got married in 2017 and did like receptions in Chicago or near Chicago, outside Chicago.
That's where Ashley's from. Yeah.
And then in JC, which you attended.
I was there. I shared some libations with you. It was great.
Sure.
So I guess you're at a point. I know that Ashley is in. Forgive me, Ashley, if you're listening, and I get this wrong, and forgive me if I get it. But she's a physical therapist. She has her doctorate. She's a physical therapist, and she specializes in traumatic brain injuries.
Yeah, works with veterans with TBIs. Yep.
Did I get that right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, naturally, that's going to have you guys out in the Colorado area at least for a little while. What's next for you? What's next for your life? Like, what are you hoping next 5-10 years?
Yeah, man, I'm wanting to obviously move up and career progress in water. I hope to possibly be a superintendent of a department someday, and just just run a department. But for myself, as far as Ash, she loves what she's doing. Like, how could you not? Like, how that must just be. She tells me all the time how rewarding that job is.
Super noble, and it's rewarding. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're essentially, she can only there's only a few openings is like across the nation for something like that. So we're looking at possibly staying out here. Could be Florida, could be Georgia, and a smaller chance of Missouri, unfortunately. But because it would have been nice to get back and get close to all the family, hers and mine. But yeah, man, that's kind of what we're looking at. I can do water anywhere. So
totally.
I get water's water. So yeah, man, that's kind of what we're looking at. So in Colorado for now, for sure, and hopefully we'll, understand and kind of see where we're heading here in the next year or so, or if we're going to plant roots. So
hell yeah, man. Well, I personally, COVID or no COVID, I'm going to make time this year to come out whenever works for you guys. We're going to come out again, and hopefully we can match up where me, you, Sam, Ashley, we can all get together. Would that be cool with you this year sometime?
Yeah, we got to make that happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
The last thing I want to end on is a super light thing, and I think I'm gonna isolate like 85% of the people listening. Maybe not, but is Patrick Mahomes gonna play on Sunday, dude?
Dude, I think you know what. Initially, I was kind of worried about it, but I think he is going to play. I hope he does, man.
Why do you think he's gonna play? Why?
So just after, why? after reading a little bit today, they made it sound like it was maybe more of a nerve getting tweaked somehow in his neck instead of an actual concussion. So I don't know. We'll see. You never know with these things. He's apparently passed testing, whatever
yeah
do, but there's obviously going to be more that he's got to go through. So
we need to get,
because we are fucked.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to Chad Henne filling in and doing the cool shit he did. But yeah, we will not.
Cool to see for sure.
We need to violate HIPAA laws and get his records to Ashley, and then Ashley can make a determination.
Fucking make it happen.
All right. Well, hey, listen, Garrett, I appreciate you coming on. I hope that anything that we've talked about will help somebody. And even if it's not, man, I hope it was good for you to kind of talk about it. And I appreciate your time and your willingness to share kind of some shit you've been through. And you're one of my favorite people, and you're a resilient guy. And I'm going to stop talking now.
Stop it. You're good people, man. I enjoyed this, and like I said, I hope somebody can take something away from it. Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it, bud. You're good people, man.
Cool. All right, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next episode.